Hello, friends. Today I want to talk about outside your comfort zone. Why growing pains are part of becoming. During our Sabbath table this past week on May 30th, 2026, we found ourselves discussing a topic that touches every area of life, and that is growth. As the conversation unfolded, my mind drifted back to childhood and something I had not thought about in years. Whenever I experienced a growth spurt, my legs hurt. My muscles ached. The bones hurt. Some nights I would lie awake wondering why my body felt so uncomfortable. Back then, the adults around me simply called them growing pains. At the time, I did not appreciate the connection between discomfort and growth. I only knew that something hurt. Looking back, however, I understood what was happening. My body was changing. Bones were lengthening. Muscles were stretching. Everything was adapting to support the person I was becoming. Today, I believe emotional, mental, spiritual, and even relational growth often work the same way. We celebrate the idea of becoming stronger, wiser, healthier, and more mature. Nevertheless, many of us become discouraged the moment growth feels uncomfortable. We expect transformation to feel inspiring and empowering. In reality, growth outside your comfort zone often feels awkward, uncertain, and sometimes painful before it produces lasting change. Human beings naturally seek stability. Familiar routines provide a sense of safety because they allow us to predict what comes next. As a result, most people build lives that minimize uncertainty whenever possible. There is nothing inherently wrong with that desire. The problem arises when comfort becomes more important than growth. Within our comfort zones, we generally know the rules. We understand the expectations and can navigate our environment with confidence. Unfortunately, the very things that make our comfort zones feel safe can also keep us stuck. Growth outside your comfort zone requires movement into unfamiliar territory, and unfamiliar territory always involves risk. Consider how many meaningful accomplishments begin with discomfort. A new job feels intimidating at first. Public speaking causes anxiety for many people. I know it does for me. Starting a business requires uncertainty. Yep, been there, done that. Healing from trauma often means revisiting painful memories. Yes. Even improving physical health demands changes in habits and routine. Absolutely. Although the details differ, every situation requires us to leave behind what is familiar and step into something new, because uncertainty activates our brain's threat detection system. Discomfort often accompanies growth. Consequently, many people interpret that discomfort as a sign they should retreat. In reality, the discomfort may be evidence that they are stretching beyond previous limitations. The memories of childhood growing pains offers a powerful picture of personal development. When children experience growth spurts, no one assumes something is wrong simply because they feel pain. Instead, parents recognize that the body is adapting to change. In the same way, emotional growth frequently produces temporary discomfort. Learning healthier communication skills can feel awkward. Setting boundaries may trigger guilt. Processing grief often brings buried emotions to the surface. Likewise, replacing old beliefs with healthier ones requires us to question assumptions that may have shaped our lives for years. None of those experiences feel particularly pleasant. However, discomfort does not automatically indicate failure. More often, it signals that something is changing beneath the surface. Many people abandon growth because they expect the process to feel easy, yet lasting transformation rarely happens without some degree of stretching. Just as muscles strengthen through resistance, character develops through challenge. Therefore, the discomfort associated with growth outside your comfort zone may actually be evidence that meaningful progress is taking place. One of the most valuable lessons we can learn is the difference between discomfort and danger. While genuine danger requires attention and action, discomfort alone does not mean we should stop moving forward. For example, speaking honestly about your needs, it feels uncomfortable. Having a difficult conversation with a loved one may feel uncomfortable. Pursuing a dream that matters deeply to you may feel uncomfortable. Sharing your story may feel uncomfortable. Despite these feelings, none of these situations are necessarily harmful. Unfortunately, many people allow fear to make their decisions for them. As a result, they remain in jobs they dislike, relationships that no longer serve them, or habits that prevent growth. Familiar discomfort begins to feel safer than uncertain change. Healthy discernment requires us to ask a different question. Instead of immediately seeking to escape comfort, we can ask whether it is helping us grow. If the answer is yes, then temporary uneasiness may be worth enduring. Throughout Scripture, God repeatedly calls people beyond the boundaries of what feels comfortable. Abraham left his homeland without knowing his destination. Moses confronted Pharaoh despite his insecurities. Esther risked her position and her life to speak on behalf of her people. Meanwhile, the disciples left familiar careers to follow Yeshua into an uncertain future. None of these individuals had complete information before taking action. Instead, they moved forward through faith. Their stories remind us that growth outside your comfort zone often becomes the environment where trust develops. Faith by its very nature requires movement. If we already knew every outcome, faith would be unnecessary. Likewise, courage would have little meaning if fear were absent. Therefore, many of the situations that stretch us today may actually be preparing us for responsibilities, opportunities, and blessings that we cannot see yet. When viewed through this lens, discomfort becomes less of an obstacle and more of an invitation. Rather than asking, how quickly can I get back to comfort, we begin asking, what is God teaching me in this season? Some discussions about personal growth unintentionally create the impression that we should constantly push ourselves. However, healthy growth includes healthy rest. In fact, one of the reasons I value the Sabbath so deeply is because it reminds me that rest is part of the Creator's design. Growth and rest are not opposing forces. Instead, they work together. Rest restores our energy, renews our perspective, and prepares us for future challenges. Without rest, growth becomes unsustainable. At the same time, rest differs from stagnation. Rest equips us to continue moving forward, while stagnation convinces us to remain where we are. The challenge lies in recognizing the difference. Sometimes we need a season of recovery. At other times, we need the courage to take the next step, because growth outside your comfort zone requires energy and intention. Learning when to rest and when to move forward becomes an essential life skill. Looking back, I cannot remember every childhood growth spurt. Most of the individual aches and pains have faded from memory. What remains is the simple reality that I grew. The same patterns appear throughout life. Years later, we often forget the specific discomfort associated with growth. Yet the wisdom gained from those experiences remains. Courage develops when we face our fears. Character forms when we persevere through challenges. Emotional maturity emerges when we do the difficult work of healing. For that reason, I have learned to view discomfort differently. Rather than immediately asking how to eliminate it, I try to understand what it might be teaching me. Sometimes the lesson involves changing direction. Other times it involves staying the course and allowing the process to do its work. Growth outside your comfort zone is rarely easy. Nevertheless, nearly every meaningful transformation in life requires it. The relationships we treasure, the skills we develop, the faith we strengthen, and the healing we pursue all demand movement beyond what feels safe and familiar. The conversation during our Sabbath Table Gathering reminded me of a simple but powerful truth. Growth and discomfort often travel together. While no one enjoys growing pains, they frequently signal that something important is happening beneath the surface. The next time you find yourself facing uncertainty, resistance, or discomfort, pause before assuming something is wrong. Consider the possibility that you are experiencing the stretching that accompanies transformation. Although the process may not feel pleasant in the moment, it may be preparing you for the person you are becoming. After all, growth outside your comfort zone is where some of life's most meaningful changes take place. If this has met you somewhere real, in a season of stretching, uncertainty, or the particular ache of growth you did not ask for, you can keep walking and continue the journey unhealthy in heart. www.sabbathtableggathering.com. Until next time, remember to stay healthy in heart.